All right. Good to see everybody again. It's January 15th. We survived Valentine's Day. We're into President's Day. It's like back-to-back holidays. And Jonathan, it's good to see you're in a new location. Beautiful. We missed the painting behind you, but and I'm also not in. I figure what the heck, you know. New day.
Ski trip, so feel really fortunate to have this opportunity. My wife's been working really hard, so she demanded a few days somewhere nice. So we're in Sun Valley.
Good for you. Awesome. Well, where do you guys want to start with? Well, how about the America's Cup? I've got the highlights reel because it's been a couple of days. So why don't we, if you guys are cool with that, we'll tee it up and take a look back, and then we can pick it apart like all the other Monday morning, quarterbacks around the world. Let's start this sucker here. You can see okay?
Yes, we can.
On a string. We can see how the English are not easy to beat. Even with a bad start that they had, they were very close, and they wouldn't give up. So it's impressive how they're holding, and we have to keep thinking about the next race.
Yeah, we made a mess at the start. We just got a bit greedy going for the hook. Thought it was on for a split second. And, for these match race starts, they go from 0 to 0 pretty quick. We roll. Water. Fast.
Really good. Not too many high fives, boys. Awesome, cool, boys. Today's racing was all about getting off the line in front, which we did a great job of. The boys and the handles did a outstanding job, just tack for tack, and we were just gaining every time. So very, very, very happy with the lads on the handles today.
Oh, yeah, tough day. We're not happy with it. We can sail a hell of a lot better than that than we need to. And we just gave 2 races to those guys, bad, off the start line. And to their credit, they sailed really well and didn't give us really a chance to get back into it. But at this level, you can't afford to make any mistakes, and we made too many. So we've got to go away and regroup and really get our act together for Wednesday and come out swinging.
And there we have it. It's really amazing to me sometimes when Jimmy says, 3 more to go. Like, wow, just 3 more races and this thing is done. It's just insane. And this new lockdown behind me in Auckland is, it sort of reminded me a little bit of San Francisco when Oracle had a kind of a chance to reboot. Does potentially a little gap help those guys, or does it make it worse? I don't know. What do you think, Ed? You're the ingoing, rumor has it, America's Cup Hall of Famer. So let's start with you.
Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, just watching it is just a testament to the fact that these guys haven't had their boats to be able to go racing all year. They've been sailing alone. They haven't been on a racetrack with other people. And what you're seeing is that Luna Rossa at match racing around the racetrack, and you're seeing that the English are sailing well, but they're giving up critical moments where they're just not in the hunt. They're not getting off the starting line with confidence. They're not forcing opportunities on the course, which I mean, I can't tell you how many times I watched the races there where they were in the middle of the race, and you think, okay, if you just did this, it would make it really hard on PRADA to make a decision, but they didn't do that, and so that's I think is that nobody has had enough time to learn the boats that well, and they're still feeling that part of it out. And the Luna Rossa guys are just a little smoother at everything we've seen so far.
That there was one, I think, takeaway I've seen a few places that, in every time they tacked, they were gaining. I think actually Jimmy kind of alluded to that. And so it's speculative, right? Where this whole double helmsman thing is actually really sharp and proving to be a little bit better, particularly when you're ahead and you don't really have the tactical game to play. You just sort of sail a boat.
Well, that could be in it, but we also don't know what's different about the boats. And certainly when we raced in 2007, when we did the Alinghi versus Team New Zealand racing, we struggled in the pre-starts to keep the New Zealanders in trouble. When we would get them in trouble, it was hard for us to keep them there. And we thought, wow, that's really, they're just doing such a great job of getting themselves, moving again or out of bad situations. And then a year and a half later, we had a series where the New Zealand boats and the Oracle boats were made available to multiple teams. And we all came in and did racing against each other. And we actually got to sail their boats. And the very first race that we had when we sailed one of their boats, we were like, oh, now we see why they were able to get it, because it performed differently in difficult low speed situations. And it just could be that maybe the Luna Rossa boat is a little better for maneuvering. Certainly better in light air. We've seen that.
Their tackle loss is amazingly small. If you look at the numbers, it's like on the order of less than 10 meters tackle loss, which is incredible, I think. And it allows them to be more aggressive, as you started to see them in some of those races when they got in control. Luna Rossa had no problem, taking the extra tack. It wasn't just boundary to boundary like it was in the catamarans,
Yeah. And we don't know is that technique or is that equipment or is it a combination? And we don't know that sitting here, but I'm suspicious that may be part of what's going on.
Well, I got a bit of time to figure it out now.
I mean, they have a couple extra days, but when you think about it, GBR now has to win 7 of the next 9 races, and Luna Rossa has to win 3 of those races. So there's not much chance here, but there is a chance. 3 races is somewhat of a cushion. And you just wonder, you heard Ben Ainsley say, at one point we had the hook and we're going for it. My thought was just get an even start, and work it from there. The speed's there. They hung on pretty well. In fact, I think it was leg 5 on the windward leg. They being GBR got within 24 meters and they were well to leeward and with plenty of leverage. Why not tack right then? Now you're out of phase, and either you're going to get the right or you're out of phase. Either way, you've got a chance to get back into it. So I thought they had one opportunity. I mean, maybe I'm grasping at straws. So even start, go from there. Don't try and be a hero on the starting line. And when you get an opportunity, take it. But they've got a tall order ahead of them.
The fact is, Jimmy and Keiko have been crushing them on the start every single time. So either their software is better or their boat's a little better at low speeds, as Ed alludes to, but
and Jonathan, they did that with American Magic too, even bigger.
yeah. So
Yeah, but guys, is that a fair comment that Luna Rossa has been crushing them, or is Luna Rossa just going through the standard motions and getting a solid position off the line, and the other guys are messing up? I mean, American Magic was late how many times coming back to the line? Here we've seen, the INEOS team is, they try one push and then it's too late. It wasn't some magic that Luna Rossa was doing as much as they were just kind of doing the high percentage move. And I think that, again, that's comfort level with your gear and your people, and just time spent doing it.
There's one thing in the format of this series that bugs me, and that is the semifinal was the best of 7, where the final and the cup is the best basically of 13. And I don't know if it would have made a difference for American Magic, but surely a lay day and another 3 races might have given them a chance. I mean, look what happened with Oracle Team USA in 2013. They had that lay day, they had the extra races, and eventually they got their act together, winning an extraordinary 8 in a row. So I don't know why it was the best of 7 at the semifinal, and there's so much on the line.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I think semifinal, the final, and the cup all should be exactly the same format.
Yeah, I've been a big supporter of that concept all through the World Match Racing Tour for 20 years, and I run up against the issue where maybe you have a couple of days early in the week when there's not much breeze, so then they start getting pressed for time, and they say, okay, well, we'll shorten the semifinals so that we can still have a full length final.
Yeah.
And I've always argued that that's the opposite of what you want. You want to make the longest preliminary races that you can, so the very best 2 teams are left at the end. And then if there's only time for one match between them, so be it. But at least you have the 2 best teams in at the end. And it's always hard to figure that out with the TV and the people watching and people coming and sponsors and so forth. But it is a more fair way to go.
I think we the consumers are somewhere at fault where so much of this area is driven by the TV, right? Of being able to package these 2 races per day and the cost and complexity. And what was it like before TV? You could sail all day long, right? Do 100 races, right? And
we did sail all day long with a 4.5 hour time limit on a 23.5 mile, 24.7 mile course. So
25 minutes now.
Yeah, I think this is sort of to wind it back a little bit. A lot of the stuff that was coming up from not having the World Series events, where I think a lot of this can be identified, and I'm sure the 6.5 knot wind limit would have easily been identified to say, this is not good racing. We should probably up this before the real races. And so it's all kind of coming back to bite, I think, the event itself. But yeah,
it seems like 8 knots should be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
The larger question is, are these boats going to carry forward for the next round, for the next America's Cup? Is this going to be the class going forward?
Any takers? I have an opinion.
I'm sure you do.
That's it, Dave.
Well, the problem is whoever wins will certainly endorse this boat. The costs are pretty intimidating.
Well, it was a good topic of discussion down in my Frostblade fleet yesterday. And, I guess, the question is, like, everybody's invested so many millions into this first generation of these boats. And, if they did stick with one more cycle, you'd have, 8 used boats available to teams to, get going. And, they'd be sort of B-level teams, but at least they'd have a platform to start. And if somebody in Europe won it, then you might have what would be their dream event of a regatta with 6 to 8 teams, and some of them A and some B level. But I think, this should, as much as I'd like to see the race course narrowed and use the technology that we have to keep a small course and put some boats in the water, have boat handling and spinnakers going up and down, I think we probably should have one more cycle with these things, whether we like it or not.
Do you not like it?
Ed, what do you think?
I don't know. We raced little model boats that you sit in, you know, so they were 12, 14 feet long or something that looked like America's Cup boats, like the America's Cup class of the 90s and 2000s. We raced them in the canals of Amsterdam. They put giant fans on a bridge and it sat us in these things. And we only started a race at 7 o'clock at night or later because it was dark. And they had laser lights going across the canal and music blaring. And it was just an amazing atmosphere. The boundaries didn't have to be looked after by any kind of umpires because they were hard, solid seawalls. And we would get into it. And there was one race where I was circling around in the pre-start, just getting ready to go with another competitor, and he suddenly just stopped dead. And I was like, "Whoa, that's weird." You know, I didn't know which side of him to go, and I picked one, and eventually I kept on sailing away and started, and he was just stopped, and I was like, "What happened?" And I looked at a little broader view of him, and he had run into a tree limb. And that had him stuck there. So up till then, the racing was pretty good. But I don't know, these constricted courses for me are they're not what I enjoy seeing. And I know they've done it for a lot of reasons, but it just seems like if you're behind at the start, there's just nowhere to go to have a chance to catch up.
Certainly playing out with these boats, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the pure performance of these boats is really incredible. I have to, I was a skeptic that they would be as fast as they have turned out to be. But then the question is faster it's spectacular to watch for sure, but does it make for better racing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we sort of hit on this last week that the race that everybody's still talking about is the one with the 9 lean changes. We weren't talking about how fast they were going and yeah, so we need a sort of happy medium, I guess, is what we need between the two.
Yeah, and the reality is that happens when the teams know their equipment really well and it's very reliable, and that and then the teams can start to really fight, as opposed to just deal with equipment issues or trying to figure out if they can foil because it's light or that we just need more time with whatever equipment it is. For people to massage it into a more eloquent package so that it's ready to go.
All right. I do have one final thought. I had a great conversation with James Line last week, American Magic coach, and sort of trying to get his opinion on what he was going to see. And I think the one thing that we haven't hit on much is the takeoff speed. And his sort of prediction was that Luna Rossa would go for a little more aggressive in the pre-start to get the British off their foils. I mean, this is sort of like that's your exit, right? Is get them in the water and take off and go. So who has the better takeoff speed and to be able to just step out in front? And we didn't see that this weekend, so I sort of wonder if that's what we'll see next, where maybe Jimmy just has some fun with them and sticks it to him, gets them down and sails away, and that's the end of that one.
Yeah, that's all about having the boats be overlapped, because if you're not, and then you're running as fast as you can. So that's a tricky one. We did see it a few times in the earlier matches where the boats got next to each other. People tacked right underneath of another boat, and then there was the potential to luff and slow the game down and take somebody off the foil. You could see the same thing at windward mark rounding, for instance. If you were overlapped, you could then control the other boat until everybody slowed down, and then you could take off first. But unless they're overlapped, everybody's going as fast as they can.
All right, so I don't know if anybody's heard anything otherwise, but this pause, which is amazing, you get 3 cases in a city and the whole thing just shuts down. But they obviously learned to do it right the first time. So who knows how long this pause will happen? I haven't heard anything. Anybody else? Yeah, could be a couple days. Yeah.
Well, they're not going to race tomorrow night, so.
Yeah. So they have to jam in a few more races on race days, I suppose.
Well, that's the question now, because they have a hard ending day to the event, but no one would have anticipated the country being shut down. I mean, it's So they may go back and discuss it and make some adjustments on schedule, but because there is time in between. But it's just been always agreed that I think it's the 24th is the absolute final day, something like that. But you know, you can always, with mutual consent, you can always make adjustments.
What a gift to the Brits, though, right? I mean, to have more time.
Yeah.
If you're the team behind, that's what you want.
Yeah, it's a long time out.
All right, cool. Well, so you're skiing this week, so no sailing for you. And Ed, how about you? What's let's sort of do a quick run around your world and what's on your schedule?
Yeah, well, we've been racing the remote control boats in the canal. Had a good one last night, blasting around in some, you know, moderate air. My boys are both doing J70s this weekend over in Tampa. They'll be not an official event again, but there's a fair amount of teams coming. Jonathan, I don't know if are you coming down for that? Yeah.
Yep,
So,
I'll be there.
You know, there's stuff going on. As I know you guys are seeing in the news, Florida is open, and you know our infection rate here in St. Petersburg is down below 5% again, and you know, things are happening, but people are being careful and getting vaccinated when they can, you know, as fast as they can, and so you know, things are starting to look brighter. But then you talk to I talk to my friends in Europe, and they're shutting down harder, and doesn't look like travel's happening anytime soon. So you know, it's really just a tangled up web that we've got going right now, and hopefully the worldwide we can start to break out of it.
On the pre-call here, I want to hit on that real quick. You said your son works for Markset, or is working with the MarksetBot guys, and I just wanted to point out I got an e-news from Storm Tricycle Club, who says that they're using an entire fleet of them for block on race week. So for those of us on the East Coast, it is the best week of sailing in the Northeast, bar none. But it is a massive operation for race committee, and you know, they're bringing a lot of volunteers. I think that was always half their cost was housing these 30, 40 volunteers, these Mark boats, and pretty amazing this Mark stuff. So are you're close to it, Ed. What do you know is what do you think is the future of these Mark bots? We're seeing them.
Well, I mean, I think this is the future. I mean, you know, as things start to get less expensive and easier to operate, this is something that makes it so simple. You can have one or two people that run an entire race course. Jonathan may have more comments on it than I do, because he's been actually sailing around the buoys at these J70 regattas they're using. But you just see this thing going on around. I mean, they're using them all over Biscayne Bay now. They're starting to use them in other parts of Europe. And it just makes so much sense that, you know, especially, I mean, it's almost like fortuitous that there's a pandemic in the world. And if you want to have some racing, you need to have less people on the chase boats. So this thing is there waiting, ready to be used. And, you know, the concept is pretty simple. You got a phone or an iPad, and you tell the marks what the wind direction, actually they know what the wind direction is, they tell you, and you tell them where you want to set up, you know, for what length of a course, and whether it's a windward leeward or a triangle, and you make a starting line, and then you tell it to become a gate, and it just shrinks down, you know, and it's a pretty good thing. Jonathan, you guys been happy with how they're going?
I had a great experience racing at Davis Island. They've been very effective and really reduced the size of the race management team. I mean, for me, taking motorboats off of the water is a good thing, and that's partly what this allows. So I'm a big fan.
Did you find that there was better efficiency in the racing, where, you know, races starting on time,
quicker, more reliable timing between races? Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
And it's going to get to a point, guys, where I mean, they're gonna come up with the software that can send the information directly to the boats, so that each boat, even maybe just using your watch, you know, can know what the ley lines are, and you can tell if, you know, where the starting line is exactly, and not have to have the whole fleet go ping it with their individual GPSs. It'll just automatically go out over the airwaves, and you know if you're over the line or not. You know if you're on ley line to the weather mark or not. And you know, these sort of things are navigationally going to make you know, they're going to simplify the process of preparing on a racing sailboat. So that saves time and means more racing.
Well, we'll have to get a few more for remote control racing size boats because
Yeah, shrink them down.
they throw quite a wind shadow. Well, that's speaking of remote control, that was sort of the extent of my weekend. Brad Reed here, who runs Sail Newport, launched at the last minute the President's Day Cup for the DragonFlite 95 fleet here this weekend. 3 days of racing, which was pretty impressive. And I will say, a little as we were calling or doing this call, I've got the results. I skipped the last day to do this, but so there are some results. Let's see.
How many boats?
I think it varied from day to day. But on average, I think it was about 13, 14, some non-showers. And let's see, this is, see if I can do this. Okay, that's the MarksetBot. We don't need that. Here's, can you guys see this?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I saw one picture earlier.
There we
There
go.
you go. Oh,
There
cool.
we go. Nice.
What's that stuff on the ground?
Right.
That's the padding.
So yeah, so you can enjoy your little warm canal racing down there, Ed. But this was the crew that battled it out this weekend. I was purely a punter in this fleet, although I almost won. I did think I did one run race, but
Nice looking boats.
losing remote control transmission, had to get into the chase boat and go rescue mine off the rocks a few times. Small detail. So yeah,
It's all
so
about dexterity in your gloves. I mean, I'm looking at you guys are all wearing these winter gloves. How do you operate the remotes that way, man?
it's tricky. So the guy in the middle, Jeff Roy, is a local. You can see he's got a pouch that I guess other remote control enthusiasts use. So he keeps his hands in there, and he's got the transmitter in there, and he keeps them nice and warm. But yeah, there's sort of a challenge of not making many adjustments. You kind of got to throw it in the water, and that's kind of the end of you got what you got. But Brad Reed, who's standing there front and center in the middle, conducted, and he apparently crushed everybody today in the final day. One of his boat there, 88, with the Bruins logo is the go fast machine of the fleet. But the smart guy was, I think, two to his left, I think in the blue coat, Jamie Hilton, who most of you guys know, who showed up on the second day with crampons, which allowed him to safely walk the sidewalk, which was like literally a sheet of ice. Staying upright was a big part of it. But to the second right, in second place there, as you guys may know, behind that mask, a guy named Chip Johns, who
Yeah.
quite famous in the small boat world, but he showed up and finished. He's new to this whole thing, and he came in and finished second. So there you go. There's quite a crew. And to his left, Gary, is Charlie Van Boris, who another great sailor, Jeff Roy, Tom Kirk. Anyway, over in the orange coat, Amory Ross, the legendary onboard reporter from all the around the world races. So quite a crew up here, man. But yeah, we're
Cool.
I admire your dedication.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So congrats
Thank you,
to
everyone.
he's fast, not even J24 and everything else. He's the king of the remote control world up here too. So
We should get the top 5 and have them. They can all come down and race off our dock here, so they can warm up.
absolutely. All right, so let's plan, and we'll try to do. I'll put the notice out to Brad. They're going to do this north-south invitational here. You got to come up and do some cold days too.
No, doesn't work that way.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. It was good to catch
Thank
up.
you.
Jonathan, have a great time skiing, and hopefully next week, I think we're going to try to get Terry Hutchinson to chime in from Auckland, and somebody from the M32 action down in Miami. They had a big weekend of good sailing down there. So kind of feel like lots happening in the sailing world. So it's time to catch up with some others, and we'll get them on next week.
All right.
Great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. See you this weekend, Jonathan.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Cheers.